Hi everyone, this is Spinsters Library. I'm Charlie, and this is Claudia.
Hi. We're students.
We are students. I study professional writing, which is a fancy word for creative writing.
And I study music, but don't play an instrument.
We talk about books.
Yes, we do. I was really keen to start this channel because Charlie is one of my favourite people to talk to books
about.
Charlie is my favourite book.
We basically, every time we get together, we end up spending at least half of our time just talking about books.
Yeah.
Half of my library, I swear, at the moment is your books, anyway. We like talking about lots of different books.
Yeah.
So, what's your favourite genre?
I don't know. Children's books. I really like children's books.
Yeah.
I like classics, talking 19th century classics mostly. I like boarding school novels.
Yeah.
I'm sort of getting into literary fiction.
Literary fiction is so broad that I don't like it as a genre title. Any book that gives you like a question about what the world we're living in is about, that's literary fiction, sort of, in a way.
That's really not, is it? Like, there are lots of genre books that make you ask that.
Yeah, well, sorry, this is like my entire degree now, but I hate the concept that genre fiction can't be literary fiction. There's so many people who think, okay, so it's high fantasy, it's not literary.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't believe in that at all. Sci-fi, which is my favourite genre, has a bunch of books that I'd say are really important.
Well, even something like 1984 is clearly a genre, right? But it's...
Yeah, well, a lot of classic dystopian novels are literary fiction. Or they're important parts of the canon, I think.
Yeah, which is like a problematic concept in itself, isn't it?
Well, I mean, we have to talk then about the idea of gatekeepers and who decides what's canon and what's not, which is really not great for our introduction.
It is. No, this is good. This is what we talk about, right?
Yeah.
We go into...
depth.
Well, mostly you.
I will probably end up doing a video about this as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting topic. What are your favourite genres?
Well, like I said, sci-fi is a big one for me. Although I tend to read a lot of graphic novels because that's what I'm researching at the moment. So that's, superheroes are a big thing. That's my entire research area. And then fantasy. I love fantasy. Especially like modern fantasies. And I'm working on a novel at the moment, which I will be doing during November for National Novel Writing Month.
Great.
Help me. I like literary fiction as well. I read a lot of women's fiction, not in the idea of romance novels that a lot of people think women's fiction is, but things that are nominated for the Women's Prize for Fiction. I have most of those on my shelf at home. Yeah. It's good. It's a good
set.
Good competition. But yeah, those are my favourite genres. What's your favourite book?
So, this is a really difficult
It's a horrible question. Yeah.
So the books that I have read more than any other, and this will surprise literally no one, is the Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
So I will win any Harry Potter quiz. Come on, hit me.
I can't think of any off the top of my head. That's so horrible.
What's Percy's owl called?
It's not Hermes.
It is Hermes.
Is it Hermes?
See? It's not just me. When I first read it and then reread it, the book that really kind of had the biggest impact on me is probably The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde.
I haven't actually read it.
You should.
It's been on my list for a while.
Yeah.
But I've heard good things.
And it's not a book that you can just... Harry Potter's like candy. You just get lost in the world and it's so easy to read, and it's like... It's such a comfort read, whereas The Picture of Dorian Gray really isn't. You have to kind of focus on it. You have to really savour it because it's so beautifully written. What's your favourite book?
Well, horrible question. I'm sorry I asked it. But I have a couple of books that I've read over the past few years that I say are some of the best books I've ever read. If you're looking for sci-fi, I'm a big fan of The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers.
It's on my to-read list.
It's about a ship of people who build pathways through space. It's an LGBT book, and it's about characters, and that's the sort of novel that I prefer. Then there's This Is Where It Ends by, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, so I apologise, but it's Marieke Nijkamp. It's an American book about a school shooting. The whole book takes like 42 minutes during the school shooting.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's one of the most intense books I've ever read. I just sobbed basically for the last like 3 chapters. just continuously. It was amazing and heartbreaking. It felt a little bit like being stabbed in the chest repeatedly, but you were sort of grateful for it. So those are the couple of books that I've really been big fans of. But if I had to say my all-time favourite book, I'd probably end up saying Pride and Prejudice.
That's a good one.
It's the book that made me decide to study creative writing, because I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with like Elizabeth's journey, this sort of voice that was so modern, even though it was a 19th century book.
Yes.
I understood her, you know? I related to her. That sort of timelessness is what I fell in love with.
Yeah.
So I think Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen is my favourite book.
Sometimes Jane Austen waffles on a bit, but in Pride and Prejudice, it's so tight. It's just, it's so well written. It's such a good book. Yeah,
definitely. So this channel is going to be us talking about books. Basically, that's it, really, isn't it?
Okay, bye. See you soon.